What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Aphrodisiac, and I'm here because recently the jury reached a verdict in the Chauvin murder trial case for the murder of George Floyd, and I don't know whether or not this video is going to be problematic to post or whether it's beneficial to people, but regardless, I'm going to be reacting to it, not for the sole purpose of likes and views, but for the sole purpose because I want to voice my opinion on the entire matter. This is going to be a live look into the verdict of Derek Chauvin, which we'll find out shortly enough. This is a live stream. I'll be tuning in. This is Fox. Let's not do Fox. We'll see how it goes.
At front as well. I want to go to NBC's Tremaine Lee. He's been closely following the trial. He's in the Greenwood neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a traditionally black neighborhood there. Tremaine, great to have you on. You're in a place obviously steeped in African-American history. I want to run this past you. And I'm sure you've been part of these conversations. There is a sense among activists, among communities of color, that this one should be an easy call. And I'm wondering if you see a risk in that assumption, thinking that this one will be different.
Lester, you know what, folks in this community, especially as you mentioned, there's such a deep history in this Greenwood community. They dealt with the 1921 race massacre. Then in 2016, Terrence Crutcher was shot and killed by a police officer. It was on video. There is currently a bill working its way through the state legislature that would make it illegal to film police. So this idea of a wariness to get their hopes up, even...
What? Did you hear that nonsense, man? This is what I'm talking about. Illegal to film police. Why? Why? Good lord, man. They'll go out of their way just to cover up literal crimes on behalf of the state. Like, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. It makes zero sense to me. Why are you going out of your way to try to cover up the crimes? You're not allowed to film police? That's literally our only mode of protection in any way, shape, or form, man. This is bullshit. I'm jumping back in. My bad. I just had to unplug. I had to pull this out so I can say some few things, man. This is bullshit.
A place like Greenwood, these residents know it more than most, Lester.
Yeah, Tremaine, thank you for joining us, and please stand by as we continue to wait for the verdict to be announced from Minneapolis. As we do that, we want to turn to criminal defense attorney and NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, we talked earlier about, I called it the speed of the verdict. I think you countered that, they sometimes go this quickly. But does it tend to favor one side or the other?
Take all the conventional wisdom and courthouse gossip you may have heard about quick verdicts and throw it right out the window, Lester, because when it's a high-profile case, all the rules get scrapped. Nothing is what it normally seems. And in a case like this, where you already have complicated jury instructions for really complicated crimes. I mean, these are two forms of murder, which everybody grows up thinking murder is an intentional act. But in this case, it is a conceitedly unintentional killing for both second and third degree murder. So expect the jury to struggle a little with that. And that raises the question of, did they do one of two things? Did they walk into that jury room and say, I don't think the state made any of its case? Or did they walk into the jury room and say, I don't think the defense had it at any point here? And, we may never know exactly how the discussions went down unless the jurors are willing to talk afterwards. But this short verdict does certainly suggest that the jurors didn't go through all of that detail, at least that the prosecution put up in that very effective grid, showing all of the elements, all of the information. That doesn't mean that they discounted it. They may have just felt the prosecution already made its case, or on the other side, that the defense made a stronger case, or at least that they raised reasonable doubt. The defense never had to prove innocence. They just had to raise reasonable doubt by undercutting any of the framework of the prosecution's elements of the crimes.
They gave them kind of an a la carte menu, the idea that maybe he died from carbon monoxide poisoning from the car, that maybe his heart was enlarged, that the drugs affected things. Was that more or less than you would expect in a case like this in terms of things that the jury might be able to hang a reasonable doubt belief on?
That's right. I mean, those elements, so you had three major causative elements.
Any excuse. You could do any excuse to try to get you into this, to push this narrative, to push this narrative that the police weren't held responsible for the thing. Any excuse, man.
Elements that the defense argued. Number one, that fentanyl levels were well above what studies show is a fatal dosage. I think he had his were at 11, and studies show that that 3 is enough to kill with fentanyl. Methamphetamines were not at a fatal dosage, but combined with other things like his poor health, his obstructed arteries, and even his COVID diagnosis, and this is what the defense argued, could have caused the death. But in a sense, the burden here was flipped for the defense because in Minnesota, as long as the defendant set into motion the events that caused the death, that is enough for causation. In a way, it kind of inverts the burden and puts the burden on the defense to show that no matter how mean or nasty this knee was on the back of George Floyd's neck, it was not a substantial causative factor. The true substantial causative factor was that George Floyd's poor health combined with drug intake was the cause of his death.
Bullshit. How convenient all of that comes into a play when the guy's knee was on, when Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck. How convenient. Bullshit.
In a sense, the defense did have a burden here. They undertook a burden to prove their alternate theory, which was causation, and we're going to find out whether or not they met that burden. And of course, I use burden in air quotes because the burden always rests with the prosecution. It never shifts, and the defendant is supposedly cloaked in the presumption of innocence.
Yeah, the defense was talking about what a reasonable officer would do in this situation. That was a lot of part of their closing. Let me go, actually, let's just check where we are. We're a little after 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time. On the left of your screen, you're watching the crowd gathering near the courthouse. We were expecting to hear the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case. We still are. We were expecting to hear it in the last half hour, but we remain with you as the wheels of justice turn toward the verdict in this case. The jury formally deliberating a little over 10 hours before reaching their decision here early afternoon Minneapolis time, and we got the word that between 3:30 and 4 Central Time we would hear a verdict. But no doubt we were drawing close, and that crowd obviously waiting with anticipation and bated breath to know where this case will go. Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, videotaped in that infamous tape that showed his knee on the neck of George Floyd for 9.5 minutes. The prosecution's case is that he died as a result of that pressure, essentially suffocated, asphyxiated by Derek Chauvin. Let's go to NBC's Gabe Gutierrez. He's outside the courthouse. He's the councilman. The court is back in session. You're looking at Derek Chauvin. They're standing as the jury now is led into the courthouse. Of course, we have not, and we will not see the jury, but all the participants and spectators are standing right now
Please be seated.
they take their seats.
Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty.
Let's go!
This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury.
Bottom line, that's it. Guilty on all charges, baby.
All right, be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order.
That sentencing better be appropriate too.
Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, the state would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
Oh,
All right. Thank you.
Derek Chauvin, convicted on all 3 counts, guilty of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd, and leaving the courtroom in handcuffs.
We're adjourned.
Court is
Chauvin
adjourned.
remanded in the custody of the
And that's the bottom line, man. Thank God. Thank God the jury made the right verdict. That was the right thing, man. But that's really only half the battle. You understand me? That's really only half the battle. The sentencing better be appropriate. It should be correlated to the crime. You know, this is just really half the battle. Just because this is one small victory does not mean that all the other black individuals that were killed by police officers previously to this date does not go unsung. Though they still need justice. This is one case of justice of the many, many hundreds and thousands of black people that have been killed in police custody. This is one small victory. At the end of the day, man, you have to understand something. Listen to me. This whole thing, this police killing black people in the streets thing, is not a political issue. Set aside your political differences. It doesn't matter how any way you slice it. This is a human rights issue. No, I can't make that any more clear than I am right now. If you have political reservations within this topic, you immediately forfeit your opinion. That's just the bottom line. It doesn't matter if you're right, left, green, blue, orange, or yellow. Nobody. I don't care if you're any of those colors. Black, white, yellow, green, blue. Doesn't matter. Nobody should be dying in police custody. Doesn't matter. They are not the judge, juror, and executor. That's just the bottom line of it all. What happened here today was the right thing for once. Finally. The jurors did the right thing. The jury did the right thing. But this is literally only half the battle. We still need justice for the future cases that to come. We need justice for the past cases that have happened. And we still need the appropriate sentencing for Derek Chauvin, whatever the hell his dumbass name is. We need the correct sentencing. This is only half the battle, man. That's it for me, bro. Today was a very small victory, man. Small victory. We got a lot to look forward to. It's your boy Aphrodisiac signing out. Until next time. I'm gonna holler at you. Peace.